What's up, everybody? So, in one of my recent streams, I did a log review for one of my viewers, and I thought that this could serve as a nice template for anybody who is just getting into log reviews or hasn't taken a lot of time to go through the amount of information that Warcraft logs has, because honestly, there is a lot and it can be intimidating if you don't really know what you're looking for. Now, I didn't go through everything. There's definitely more that I could have done, but I think that this can serve as just a nice introduction for anybody who hasn't really gone through Warcraft logs before. Anyway, let me know what you think. I hope this helps you. And if it does, then I can try to make a little bit more in-depth guide as well. Anyway, that's all for this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, I'm going to use this just because the gear is more up to date. We can do Jiraxis. Jiraxis isn't a bad fight to look at. 3 minutes is a pretty long kill. Let's here. This is a really great tool. So if you're not familiar with this, it's called the wellname.github.io. Here, I can put this link in chat. If you put your if you put your logs into this analyzer and look for your name, it'll tell you a lot of really good information. Okay, so we got some things to look at here. Number one, so your mind flay. So what this means is your average delay is basically 300 milliseconds. So you're taking 0.3 of a second when your mind flay either finishes channeling, or if you're doing a 2-tick mind flay, you're waiting 0.3 of a second before you cast your next spell. So number one is that you want to be casting spells faster than that. Like if I bring up, and I'm not saying you should do what I'm doing, or like you need to compare yourself to me, but just as like a basis for comparison. Go to Jiraxis. You can see my average mind flay delay is a third of what yours is. So number one, I'd say trying to cast faster mind flays, or just when your mind flay ends, trying to cast something. And I can talk about how I can help you with that. So number two is early clips. So you lost 450 DPS because, so this is kind of the opposite problem of waiting too long after your mind flay. If you're doing a 3-tick mind flay, this means like without haste, the cast takes 3 seconds. So if we assume that it's a 3-second cast, just as like an assumption. Oh yeah, this tool is awesome. So if the cast takes 3 seconds and at second 3 is when you do that 3rd tick of mind flay, this early clip means essentially you're casting another spell at 2.9 seconds. So you're casting it before you actually get the benefit that you waited for, because in this scenario, the second tick happened at 2 seconds. So basically you're making it 0.9 seconds. So you're making it 90% of the way until that next tick, but then you're canceling your cast to cast something else. So these are two opposite problems. One is that you're waiting too long after mind flay to cast your next spell, but then 27 times in this fight, you clipped before your tick happened, which lost you 450 DPS. So that's a lot. Like you can see, I did it once and it cost me 30 DPS. I think, you know, if this is like 3 to 5, it's fine. It's going to happen. 27's a lot. So it absolutely could. Yeah. If you're using a Nochanneling macro, it absolutely could. But if you were using that, you wouldn't have these early clips. Unless you had a no channel and a regular mind flay, in which case I would highly recommend not doing that for obvious reasons. You're losing a lot of DPS here. Actually, I can zoom in. This is actually kind of small. I'm looking at it now. So like number one, you need to work on your mind flay. You do have a no channel. I would recommend you try to use mind flay normally. I mean, that's what I would recommend to anyone. I don't like no channel macros. I never use one. I never will use one. How does a no channel do this? If you're just purely using a no channel, you're not using another mind flay. Because isn't the whole point you don't cast until it's over? Like I can understand the big delay, but how does it clip? Oh, right. Duh. You can clip with other spells. You're right. Obviously, that makes sense. Never mind. I'm being dumb. Yeah. So that's another thing. You get used to pressing a button that doesn't cast until your mind flay is finished. Your other spells don't do that. Your other spells will interrupt. Right. So if you get used to not being able to interrupt mind flay with mind flay itself, that might carry over into other spells that you're casting. So you could cast a mind blast too early without realizing it's then going to clip your mind flay. So I would highly recommend not using a no channel macro. I don't like them. I never have. I think they can be good when used well, but this is a case of it. It's definitely hurting you more than it's helping you. So something that I would recommend, I'm going to pull up my screen real quick. So I really like Gnosis. This is the cast bar auto. Yeah. So here, I want to go find. So I really like Gnosis, and you just let mine. Yes. So I'm going to show you something that's helped me a lot. Something that Gnosis has is the ability to hear ticks when you cast Mind Flay. So it'll be kind of quiet. So I'll try to not make noise, but like listen. So it's really quiet, but you can hear the duh, duh, duh when I get a tick. So that will help you a lot. Now, like there is still latency between like when the tick the tick happens before you hear the sound. But if you only reacted to the sound, like the sound 100% happens after the tick occurs. So it's perfectly safe to just use the sound as your, like, you know, when to like clip a 2-tick mind flay or when your mind flay is finished channeling. But if you do listen to it, it will help you a lot. And then you just kind of get into the rhythm. So the whole thing is that like you kind of like you get into this timing rhythm of like when to cast a spell. So I would highly recommend. So if you go to Gnosis, there's other add-ons and like Weakauras that do this too. So Gnosis, Gnosis, create options, and then everything will appear. I can take a look at your opener in a second. And then go to combat text, clip test, play sound on clip. This is what I've done. And then just make sure for channeled spells for Mind Flay, play tick sound. Here, let's take a look at your opener. Let me bring the logs back over. Hold on, where? Okay, your opener. So this is my log. How did I lose your? I'm sending in Fiend before Lust and using Inner Focus on Mind Flay. But okay, so into Devouring Plague, Mind Blast, a 2-tick Mind Flay, Shadow Word Pain. Good. I'm assuming, when did your Lust go out? 7 seconds. So it looked like Lust went out at about 7 seconds when you casted this Mind Flay. So it looks like your Shadow Fiend didn't get the benefit of Lust. So that's something where you may want to move that up like into this range. I'd much rather cast it early, waste a few seconds before Lust gets out, than have it miss Lust. Lust gives you about 10k extra damage on your Shadow Fiend. So you definitely want to get it before. So that's one thing. But I think your opener looks good. Yeah, then Mind Flay, Mind Blast, like you're maintaining your dots. But yeah, I think opener looks good. The only thing is making sure your Shadow Fiend gets Lust. Now, 7 seconds is really late for a shaman, so if you don't have consistent Lust timings, it can be difficult. But I would say this whole section right here, this first like 10 seconds looks good. Essentially somebody hacked my account. And so what I think happened, I don't know, Twitch never told me. I think that they were trying to use it to like sell crypto ads to people, because it said that I got banned for botting. And I was reading online, and apparently when that happens, it's because somebody takes your account and then just starts mass messaging people about like, go to this crypto site. Potion, yeah. So you always want to do a pre-potion. Because doesn't doing that have benefit on the VT? Yes. Well, so you always want to do a pre-potion. Like going back to this pull timer. Oh, hold on. So pull 10. So like as this is counting down, you want to use a potion when this is at 1. So like the way my cast would work here is I would go 2, 1. Potion VT, like 1 second before that happens, because you only get 1 potion in combat. But if you don't use one as your pre-potion, then you're missing out on a use. So you can technically get 2 uses of a potion if you use it before combat starts. So if you are not doing that, you absolutely should. Now gloves, it's really good to time your cooldowns with each other. And essentially, so you have scale here. I don't know if it doesn't show gloves. Oh, hyperspeed accelerators, it's later. I'm assuming you used these before combat, which is why you waited 56 seconds. So you used it 4 seconds before combat started. I would essentially try to pair your first uses of these with Lust. It's always, not always, but like 99% of the time, it's best to pair all your cooldowns with each other. So yeah, even though using your hyperspeed accelerators on your first cast of VT, it benefits that, it's much better to pair these all together. And then when you like reapply your dots with Bloodlust and everything, then they're getting a massive benefit. You could definitely macro them together. I don't, well, I guess I don't have scale on this guy anymore. I used to, and then I got a rain, but essentially I had my trinket here. Like, so basically these two buttons are right next to each other, and I would just press them at the same time. So if you can see, I'm like, I would always hit them together, but yes, I would do that. And the nice thing is they're synced because scale is a 2-minute cooldown and these are 1 minute. So every other use of gloves, you get to pair with scale. So I absolutely would do that. You can macro them, or you can use 2 different keybinds, whatever's easier for you. Probably better to macro. But you should just make sure it's showing your gloves cooldown, because this is going to come up a lot more often than, or well, twice as often as your scale. I need to log over to my other priest because raid's starting soon. I guess any other questions? We got 4 minutes before raid starts. Well, so we just looked at your opener and stuff. We didn't talk about, you know, maintaining dots on ads, which is kind of difficult to tell from logs. Hold on, let's go back to table. Like if we go to Mistress of Pain, I mean, I guess I'm assuming it dies here, so it's kind of hard to do. I need to like open multiple screens and kind of look at its health. Like if you go to damage, or actually if we went to resources, hit points, enemies, how do I, Mistress of Pain. Okay, so they die. So there's 2. One dies 104, one dies 113. So it seems like you're maintaining dots on them throughout. So this is right as they died. So like parsing on Jiraxis is really important that you're maintaining your dots on them. But then while you're doing that, so like the thing is your damage on Jiraxis falls off while you're multi-dotting. So like if we go back, you're not attacking the mistresses with anything other than your 2 dots, right? But if we look at when this is happening, you're having a huge dip in damage here. So if you look, your damage to Jiraxis falls off quite heavily. You want to make that switch a lot faster than you're doing here. So like, again, I'm going to go to my logs real quick on Algalon. Let's go to Ulduar, Algalon. And like, you'll see as I'm dotting the ads, so like all enemies Algalon. Okay, so I do have a dip too. I guess I do have a dip. It's about 5K. I think your dip's a little bit steeper, especially this point right down here. I would just try to, so like if I look at, oh wait, no, sorry. Collapsing Star. I would just try to make sure that when you're dotting, you're switching back to your main target really fast. Hold on, sorry, I need to go. Whisper. I'm not the last person in the raid. 1, 2, 3, please. Which Weakaura do I use to track dots? I actually don't use a Weakaura anymore. I used to do, hold on, I can answer all these questions. Clio dot timer in Wago. I've stopped using this, but it's really good for tracking dots. So that's the Shadow Priest like log analyzer. So you can just copy and paste your logs into there. And then when we get anything proc, should we re-VP? It depends. So there's a really good Weakaura in the Shadow Priest Discord that basically tells you it's using math that Lanello created. So Recast DP. Let me see this area. So you should get this Weakaura. And essentially, you'll see it when it glows on my screen. But like, so whenever this glows right here, it's basically telling me that I can recast DP and gain at least 100 DPS on that DP because of the buffs I have on my character versus the previous one that I cast. So Lanello also did math that said that VT is never worth recasting. I'm not sure if I believe that personally. Like, why would you, like, especially with the 2-piece tier 9, like VT and DP last like the same amount of time, although VT doesn't have that instant upfront damage. So I'm not sure how much of that plays a part into the reapplication, like gaining damage from it. But you recast DP basically whenever this thing lights up. So it's a really great Weakaura to have. I highly recommend it. And you'll see it in action. It'll pop up a bunch. I'll try to call it out when it does if I remember in the moment.